Hello and good morning to all of you. My friends, today I would like to discuss the Act of 1853. Through this audio lecture, I will try to make you understand some of the most important provisions which were brought through the Act 1853. So, first of all, let me tell you that when you go to realize the present system of government, you would find that there is executive as well as there is legislative, and there is separation of power between the executive and the legislative. The executive performs its own work and legislative performs its own work. Whereas what was happening till the Act 1853 comes into effect, the legislative work and the executive works both were being performed by the Governor General's Council. I mean, there was no any separation of power. There was no any mm, differentiation between the responsibility of the executive and of the legislative. The Governor General's Council was whole and soul. It was looking whether the matter is related with the execution or the matter is related with the legislation. So first time it was thought through this act that we need to provide a good governance to the people of this country. That's why we need to make the system much more responsible, and for having the system much more responsible, we need to generate a separate legislative body, and this was one of the reason that 6 more members were added, which were only responsible to take care or to execute the legislative work which was required at that point of time. So the most important thing which you need to keep in mind, that through the Act 1853, the executive and legislative, they both were separated and they both were defined their responsibility. This was the first thing. The second thing which was done through the Act 1853, that is also very important, and almost all the UPSC aspirants, they must be aware that this was the act through which the birth or the genesis of civil services comes into existence. Why? Because as you remember, when I was discussing the Act of 1833, so first during the time of 1833 Act, it was asked that we need to have an open competition so that we could recruit the most competent candidate for the civil services, or to run the country India. But what happened, that as you know, that the court of directors, they were not agree with this, and they tried to convince to the British government, and this provision was removed. But what happened when the next act means the act which I am discussing, the 1853, when this act comes into effect, so the court of directors advice was completely I mean, it was ignored, and through this act, first time the open competition was brought through which the civil services students were getting selected. And let me also tell you that the Macaulay committee was constituted, which was responsible to provide some of the guidelines, or you can say the Macaulay committee represented report where it suggested to the British government that we need more competent students, and we need who have a great amount of knowledge, not the only superficial one. And what was happening when the court of directors were appointing, so there was no any competition, or there was no any exam which was really you can say proved the competency of the candidate. So that's why what happened, that through this act, first time the open competition was brought in order to select the civil services students. So this is the second thing which you need to keep in mind. Now the third thing which was done through this act, that you must know that there was the Governor General of Bengal. Okay, and this Governor General of Bengal, what happened, that when the Act of 1833 comes into effect, this Governor General of Bengal designation was changed with the designation called Governor General of India. And you know that the Lord William Bentinck was the first Governor General of India. Why I am discussing here? Because although he was the Governor General of India, but he was much more inclined towards the development of Bengal, because he was sitting in the Bengal only, and all the presidencies were working under the control of Governor General of India. So I don't know it is the reality or not, but what happened? Some of the historians they started telling that this Governor General of India who sits in Bengal, it is biased towards the development of Bengal only. He only take cares the Bengal. So we need to create one more post which only responsible, which whose responsibility only should be to the development of India. So that's why what happened, that a separate governor for the presidency of Bengal was appointed. A separate governor for the presidency of Bengal was appointed, so that the Governor General of India could look after the whole country, or the all the territories which was under the British control. So this, however, this is not as important, but it was given in the book. That's why I am telling you. You only need to remember that the Governor General of India, although he was known as the Governor General of India, but he was much more inclined, he was much more biased, as suggested by some of the historians. That's why what happened, a special post was created, which was known as the Governor for presidency of Bengal, and so that this Governor General of India could look after, or he could give his full attention in the development of all the territories present at that point of time. So this was the third thing. Now one more thing I would like to tell you, that the reduction in terms of number of directors was also done. You know that before this act the number of directors used to be 24, but what happened, as government of Britain wanted to curtail the power of court of directors, that's why what happens, that instead of 24, the number was reduced by I mean 6. So now what happens, that 18, 24 to 18. By the way, maybe my mathematics is not good here. So when you reduce 24 and minus 18, so you would find that 18 yeah, 6. So 6 members were reduced, and now the 18 members were there. And let me tell you that 6 out of these 18 members were appointed by the crown. So you can say almost you can say a major portion of the power of the court of directors was snatched by the British government once again. And you would find that when the next act 1858, after the 1857 revolution comes into effect, this court of director was completely eradicated. So I will tell you in my next audio lecture, but for now you have to remember that through this act the reduction happens in the number of directors. Initially they used to be 24, but now through this act they became only 18, and 6 out of these 18 were nominated by the crown. So I think these were some of the you can say characteristics or the provisions of the Act 1853. And the last thing I would like to tell you, that what was happening when the Act 1813 was brought into power. So it was renewed for the next 20 years, and when the 1833 comes, then again it was renewed for the 20 years. So 1853 comes into existence. But when the 1853 comes, there was no any concept of renewal. So what does it mean? It does mean that the British government, it was not interested to provide any security, any time security, and it was a clear cut signal to the company, that you can be terminated, you can be removed at any time if Parliament wants. So it was also one of the things which you need to keep in mind. And I think I have discussed 3 to 4 provisions, and these are important for your exams perspective. Thank you very much.